And we are live. So yeah, hi guys, welcome along to another Staying Connected. This week we are joined by a special guest on the Friday slot, which we're going to look to do a little bit more. So obviously get used to when you tune in on a Friday, we should be seeing some more special guests and stuff. But this week we are joined by Fraser, who is a sergeant for the community engagement team at Northumbria Police. If you'd like to introduce yourself there, Fraser.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fraser. As Haythan's kindly said, I'm very honoured to be here this afternoon. Something a bit new. So I'm going to be with you for the next hour or so, telling you about a bit what we're doing in the police, tell what my team does, and how we've ended up kind of here and now, I suppose, isn't it, in terms of things have changed somewhat.
Yeah. So we're just, I mean, like I say, this is a little bit different to what we've done on the previous streams. I know we had Anthony
Uh-huh.
on last Monday, and he did the guest slot on that Monday. But on the Friday, we're going to have a special guest appearance, hopefully, for you guys. So this is the first one, so no pressure, Fraser. You can get us off to a flyer, hopefully. Apparently, my
I
mic
set a reasonable bar.
sounding a bit muffled. So 2 seconds. Let me just up the volume a little bit. Let me know, guys, if that's not clear at all, and I'll try my best to sort it out. Fraser fine, but Ethan wasn't. Yeah, that should be better now, guys. Hopefully, I've tweaked the settings anyway. Let me know in the chat if you're struggling to hear us at all. Fraser's the one who's important anyway, so as long as he can hear what he's got,
That's a sure.
yeah, it's better now. Right, cool. No worries. Yeah. So I mean, obviously we've talked about your role, as in what it is. I don't know if you want to take a little opportunity just to start to say what you sort of your role entails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose a little bit about me. I'm obviously a police officer. I'm a sergeant. I've been in the police for 23 years now. The vast majority of my time I've spent kind of on response shifts, going around the jobs, spent some time in our control room. And then last November, an exciting opportunity came along to take over a team that was already in existence, which is we call it the community engagement team, which is part of our kind of neighbourhood teams. And I suppose the clues in the title.
Yeah.
Our job is engagement, and we do that in many different ways. The real point of our role, I suppose, is the fact that everyone has a voice within all of our communities, and it's our job to ensure that we listen to them and we understand what people's needs and wants
Yeah.
and frustrations and tensions and worries are, and especially at a time like this, then and that's even more important. People are a bit more isolated than they used to be for obvious reasons. So it's our job to just kind of make some links and generate some relationships, I suppose, with groups. And I suppose the reason I'm here is because a big shout out to anyone from some of the people's first there.
Yeah.
We've done lots of work, or the team, should I say, has done lots of work with them. And obviously it was being part of the YouTube streams that I've been watching the last couple of weeks and I thought, well, actually, because of what's going on in the world and the COVID, everyone's having to change the way they work.
Yeah.
So that's what we kind of do. So lots of our work would be to work with groups to understand what they need, and then if we can help them out. So we do lots of work, hate crime training, and there's a scheme called the Hate Crime Champions, where I know it's, again, some of the people's first, some of them, the people involved in the organisation have had the training.
Yeah.
So it's just about, it's empowering people to kind of make a difference in their own lives. We can give them some support and some knowledge, and then they can go out and, in essence, do what they want with that. We do lots of training. We do kind of educational stuff as well. It's a real bit of a sandpit, my job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. So I mean, the first sort of, I did some sort of questions. I've boosted my mic, guys, a little bit, so hopefully that's a little bit clearer. If not, I will quickly, when Fraser's talking and answering one of the questions, I'll unplug it and try and plug it back in. But one of the first sort of things that sort of sprung to my mind when we were setting this session up was, what would your day-to-day sort of be like, obviously, before we had the sort of outbreak, and what sort of things were you doing? Obviously, you were saying about the tackling hate crime and stuff. Did that include like putting on workshops and going out to different organisations? So what sort of stuff day-to-day beforehand, before this sort of started, was what sort of activities were you involved with and things?
Yeah, so I suppose we work whenever we need to work. There's a team of five, two police officers, three members of police staff, and myself. So we generally try and plan our engagement around kind of the needs of the individuals and groups. We also try and plan kind of the year ahead. So, for example, the start of this month was National Autistic Week. So what we planned to do around that time, and it didn't happen for obvious reasons, was to do some work with some autistic groups and just being a bit creative about what we can do. So we were trying to do some online cybercrime awareness with autistic groups, and Springboard in Sunderland, one of them groups. Unfortunately, never got to do that. So what we do is we kind of look at the calendar throughout the year and think what fits in terms of the bigger events that are going on that we can support. But the realistic part of it is that I would come to you and say, how can we help you? Because it's not for me to say, you should be doing this, this, this. What I'd like is you to understand kind of, if we can support you in whatever that is, then we can do that. And if that's talking about hate crime or cyber bullying online, or you know what, just come and have a conversation with people and just to understand kind of how they're feeling about things at the minute. We're generally always really busy, you know. Everyone's in and out of the office. We've based that in office, but realistically, we all have a laptop and a mobile phone, so we can work from anywhere. So the day could be filled with meetings, doing some training, just going out and with I've sent you the picture of the team and with Russell engaged dog. It's probably good to bring that up. So this is the team will all be sitting going. So just tell us when it's up, and then I'll explain. So, yeah, okay. So the team's, I think it's Jim on the left, Sally and Russell, who's probably the most important member of the team, the dog.
Definitely.
Rich in the middle, and Nicola and Paul on the right. Paul's just retired, and we'll just get a new member of staff, Shauna, who starts in a couple of weeks' time. So it's going to be strange for her to start with what's going on at the minute. So that's the team, and they'll all go out and they'll do various things. You know, we've started using some virtual reality kit to do some of our training. We use PowerPoint in terms of delivering some of the hate crime stuff, but we'll do workshops. We support recruitment events. In March, it was at National Women's Day, and at the Beacon of Light, we put on a bit of a recruitment event where they wanted female people from all sorts of different jobs. So a couple of female police officers went on from the firearms team just to kind of talk to the group of females there and just to explain how they ended up being where they were. So when I say my job's a bit of a sandpit, it really is, because we can be as creative as we want. And I suppose this is the next step of that creativity here. And so I'm privileged to have the job I've got. It's awesome, and I've got a great team, including Russell, obviously, who everyone just loves, and pets, because who doesn't like a little lovely spaniel dog?
Definitely. I think they're winning the award for Employee of the Month every month, probably, I'm guessing. But no, I think that's really interesting that you mentioned that as well, that it's sort of the scope of what you can do isn't limited to, oh, well, we can deliver, say, this workshop, or we can make an appearance at that. It's good that you guys are trying to be creative with it in terms of inspiring people as well, who are maybe thinking about, you know, getting more active, becoming more active in the community, or reaching out to different parts of it as well. I think that's really good. On that note as well, obviously we've talked a little bit about what your day-to-day is like before the COVID-19 sort of outbreak. How has it been since? So, I mean, in terms of adapting your work to this.
Yeah, so it's been really different, but really sort of challenging in one respect, but interesting in another. So we're all still at work, thankfully, and, you know, we're all still fit and healthy, which is the important bit. And we're grateful for that. We're all working from home. And basically what our day now looks like is on a morning with certain reports we have to do for the day before. And on the morning we have a Skype conference call between us, which would be the same if we were meeting in the office. It's just a bit different. And then during the day, we kind of, everyone has some work to do, and then throughout the day, we'll all get together on Skype, and whether that's just a message or the phone call. But I always think the video conference call, it's a nice environment, because actually we can sit and it feels like we're still together as a team, because we can see them speak. and obviously there's an opportunity there to relax a little bit and have some normal conversation as you would in any working environment. So there's always that normality as well. So it's not just all about the work. And whilst everyone's busy, clearly there's an opportunity for us then to have them normal conversations, which we need to do in everyday life, because everyone's stuck in the house. And one of the members of staff, Nicola, she's got 3 young kids, so she's there trying to manage them at the same time, pulling her hair out most of the time. But it's something different that we're all getting used to, but actually think moving forward, it's shown us we can work remotely, and agile working is an important thing, and we don't have to drive somewhere just to go and sit at a desk, because there's other ways we can do it, and that's the really exciting bit. And when this is all over, and it will be all over at some point, it's going to be for us as a team to say, right, well, what was good and what wasn't.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of your ability to work from home, you've obviously overcome that challenge quite well. But I appreciate it's probably slowed things down a little bit in the first couple of days. Obviously getting used to it. But would you say you've sort of hit your stride now with being able to provide that kind of support?
Yeah, in terms of us as a team operating, we've got a bit of a battle with them going, as the saying goes. The frustrating thing is we aren't able to engage with the people who we normally would.
Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity for us, because there's people hopefully watching and listening that know the team, and they know Sally and Russell and Nicola, and they know the individuals involved. But because we're not operating in terms of going out into people's kind of places of work or schools or environments like that, then it's hard to actually engage. And an email's an email, but you don't actually really get any what I would class as meaningful engagement from that.
Yeah.
So that's probably been our biggest frustration. Is our job is to engage with people, but it's really hard to do that. And lots of organisations, for obvious reasons, they've had to close because they can't afford the funding, or whatever else. So they've kind of like stopped their own normal work because they're having to stay at home, and you know, it's must be really frustrating for people in that situation.
Yeah,
I'm really lucky. I've got my job and I can do it from home, but I know other people aren't quite as fortunate as that.
Yeah.
But you know, when this is all over, there's some real good opportunities to get back to where we were at kind of in February time, let's say, having these things planned for months ahead. And we'll be super busy for the rest of the year, because we'll try and cram everything into a short period of time.
Definitely. I think you're going to have maybe your work cut out for you a little bit when it's all over. But in a good way. Do you know what I mean? It means that people are back out and sort of reintegrating with the community and stuff, which it'll be great to see. I think, obviously, you've said it's difficult to cope with, and you've lost a little bit of sort of the ability to engage, sort of like face to face and in person. I think, what do you think the general public's reaction has been in terms of trying to stay connected? Just as a bit of context to that, we've seen, obviously, with the guys who are here today, and guys, if you have any comments and you can hear me properly, feel free to shout up with any questions. But I think we've seen a big surge in people making a bit more of an extra effort in terms of actually, putting themselves out there.
No, I think you're definitely right, because whilst we can't go and speak to people face to face, we've certainly, all our normal people who we would engage with, we'll try to maintain some phone contact or email contact with. And I think genuinely there's always been a bit of a good community spirit and feeling, I think, in the Northeast. It's a lovely place to live. And I think even now it's probably even better, because, and whilst there's some bad stuff going on, we all understand that. And, it's really sad that people are dying because of this.
Yeah.
But, 8 o'clock on a Thursday evening, you see communities coming together, and that might just be a street. I mean, I'll be the first to say I've spoken more to my next door neighbour on a Thursday evening than I have previous to that.
Yeah.
So it's actually an opportunity for people to actually get out and engage with each other in a very different sense. So I think it probably, hopefully, will come out of this as a closer knit community than we started it.
Because I think, personally speaking, like even if you're out like walking the dog or whatever, people seem a little bit more genuinely. They'll actually look you in the face and be like, "You all right?" Like, do you know what I mean? There's been a bit more of a community engagement, even though we kind of technically engage as much as we used to be able to. So it's there's a flip side to it, I suppose. Of obviously we're living in like a lockdown, but there are positives to it as well.
And I think you're right, because I do my exercise kind of at the same kind of time each day, and you see the same people. And a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have kind of looked twice, but now the people you do see in your pass, there's that acknowledgement.
You almost appreciate them a little bit more now that you sort of like
appreciate them.
Like bloody hell, I've been in my house for like 3 days straight and I haven't left. Like it's nice to see another face. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
Definitely. So I think that's great, and I don't think, to be honest, I think that'll probably help you guys a little bit as well coming out of that. That people seem to have come together a little bit more, and got the good old British sort of stiff up my lip sort of attitude to it, which is good. So
yeah, and there's all sorts of other kind of acts of kindness that we've seen to each other. People keeping an eye out for the vulnerable, because the police's job is to look after people with some vulnerabilities, and that could be anyone at some point in their life. So it's quite evident that people are keeping their eye out for the neighbour that might be a bit worried about because they haven't seen for a few days.
Yeah.
And that's great, because that's in essence what we need to do for each other at the minute.
Yeah. So I mean, is this definitely? Oh, hang on, we've got a question actually. So, is there any like advice from Northumbria Police specifically, or any that you're aware of, on the likes of the coronavirus scams? The ones that are going around online. I know we're going to talk about reporting stuff later on, but is there anything that you've got specifically? This one's from Sunderland People First, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
So, no, that's fine. So, obviously, we, as a team, we basically get given a weekly kind of update from nationally in terms of the cybercrime teams about things to look out for. And I know you mentioned on your WhatsApp sort of chat a couple of weeks ago when you were setting up them groups about being careful for stuff. So,
yeah,
if in doubt, don't. I suppose is the best form of advice. And if you go to Action Fraud's website, they've got a list of kind of the scams and the things to be looking out for.
Yeah.
Certainly, we circulate it to our kind of like our mailing group, if you like, and then what I would expect is Sunderland People First. A good example is Andy, maybe to make sure his community, in terms of everything that goes there, are aware of what's that. So it's our job to try and pump the information out to some key individuals, and then our expectation is that them key individuals will then pass that on to the people they're involved with.
Yeah, and I don't actually know because I haven't checked it fully, but I know you sent me a link to it was the Northumbria Police Facebook. Is there some relevant information on? I assume they're putting some kind of advice out there. Generally, it might not be specific to scams, but if new stuff comes up, does it go on there?
Yeah, the social media, the police are using social media quite a lot, so there's a fair bit of stuff on there. There's some recent stuff on about cyber sort of being awareness because young people are in the house more. They're probably going to be on the computers and online more, and it's just to be wary of kind of the dangers of the online world, if you like. And clearly it's a really positive thing, but there are some people that maybe use it in not such a positive way. So there's lots of stuff on there.
Yeah.
And the website. And also I would say that there's a service called NP Alert. And if you went to the Northumbria Police website and you scroll to the bottom, and you can sign up for it.
Yeah.
And it's in essence, it's an email that comes out from the police with some general kind of information that's suitable, and it drops into your mailbox. You can have a look at it, and it's just there for your benefits. It's certainly a good opportunity for us or the police generally, to put information out into the communities, and anyone can sign up to that. All you need is the email address.
Yeah, so I'm just quickly reading off I'll put a link to it on the screen later on.
Okay.
But it's MP alerts. You can decide how you're kept informed about the issues that matter to you, such as crimes and alerts and appeals, neighbourhood news and events, rural policing information, safety advice, antisocial behaviour updates, and it has a bunch of FAQs on there about like when they'll send you messages and stuff. So I'll put that out there as well, so people can sign up with that. But thanks for that question, whoever that was at Sunderland People First. I'm not sure who it was. So yeah, it's. I think it's going to be at a time like this when you guys obviously can't do your face to face or any kind of like outreach, as it were, physically. I think I take it you guys have pushed more towards like signposting to the resources like that as well.
Yeah, because there is help out there for everyone, or the vast majority of people. So, and I would, if people are uncertain, people are waiting, do they need help, then, you know, in terms of our contacts that we're already in touch with, I would expect them, you know, to ping us an email, ask the question. If we can point them in the right direction, we certainly will. So it's a two-way relationship. It's not just us pumping stuff out. And we get lots of emails each day from organisations, groups and charities asking some questions, just for some clarity around stuff. So I suppose going back to that point about the advice is in terms of the, you know, fraud activity, if you're uncertain, well, contact the police or ask, and you're going to get the right answer.
Definitely, and hopefully contact the right number, given if it's an emergency or not as well. That's probably a good one to just tack on there as just an FYI. Yeah,
and it's just, and I suppose to reinforce that, you know, if it's an emergency and it's happening, you dial 999. If it's not an emergency, because of kind of how busy things are in everyone's lives at the minute, we were encouraging the online reporting system, which is obviously again through the website. You can put your message in, and then that'll be treated exactly the same way as if you'd phone 101.
Right.
So it'll end up, whatever will happen with the phone call, it'll happen anyway. But it's just it's this using technology to make things easier. So you can report an incident on there.
And sorry to interrupt, but I've just loaded the web page. So is that the reporting incident web page as well as that one? Cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then because you're going to get potentially a phone call back, and you might get a telephone appointment or an appointment to speak to your local neighbourhood team anyway, and it just saves contacting 101 and doing it that way. So I would encourage people to report whatever through, if it's an emergency, clearly 999. If they can report online, that's great. Do it that way. And if you can't do it online for whatever reason, then 101's the other alternative.
So just as a quick sort of almost add on to that, would that be a case of everything that they would think they would normally ring 101 for, they would report there, as opposed to trying to get in touch with, say, you guys directly? Or would you which way would you encourage people to do it, basically?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a general question, then I would suggest just contact us directly with people that we're already sort of speaking to in a virtual way. If it's an incident and it's something that's happening to them, and you know, they've identified they're worried about a neighbour or something like that, I would just contact the police in their own more traditional methods. But generally, lots of the communication we have with our partners, as I would call them all, is just some sort of feedback and some general questions about not incidents as such, but just what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, because if you email my team, then we might not pick that email up till the following day. So, you know, if in doubt, contact the police through the 999 emergency 101, or preferably online, and you're going to get the same response.
I think with that as well, it's a little bit, it makes it a lot more accessible, which we've got Elizabeth in the chat saying it's a lot easier than ringing 101. So perhaps someone who would struggle on the phone or to make a phone call and have that conversation, it's probably a little bit easier for them to do it online as well.
No, I think you're dead right here. We've done with groups, and I don't know if Elizabeth is one of them, where, you know, people are uncomfortable in speaking kind of on the telephone. So, but equally, we do a bit of work with some of the groups we've invited into the police station for a bit of a look around. We've shown them the control room, and we've shown them that they're just people at the end of the phone, just to try and alleviate the fears a little bit. But the online stuff, certainly, if you feel a bit uncomfortable in speaking to someone, then it's perfect for that.
I think it's not even just that either, is it? It's a sort of the issue of, well, you don't want someone to overhear you as well. So, you know, it's almost silent, apart from if you're hitting the keys really hard when you're typing. But it's just another avenue that you can go down. I think it's really good thing. So I'll pop a link probably in the description of the video to the MP alerts, which is where you get an alert from the police, as well as the reporting an incident one. I'll make sure they're in there with a clear distinction in there as well.
And obviously, I know you've in the previous you've mentioned that kind of what happens with that data in terms of it's an email address. You don't get spammed with lots of emails. It's not like that. You'll get sent something if we think it's pertinent to your needs and your wants. And obviously, the data is held securely, so we're not going to sell everyone's email addresses on, obviously.
That's always the worry. So yeah, it's good to hear you say that specifically. Yeah, because we sort of covered that in the Zoom one as well. So that's the other thing as well I'd mentioned, just on the back of the scams one, is all the apps that are out there as well. Just to be careful and sort of have a think about what you are sort of giving away by signing up to something, particularly as well. That can be another sort of issue. With obviously that in mind as well, and the different apps and stuff, and the different ways that you guys are finding you're connecting, have you sort of come up with or come across any things that you think, after the, I'm saying the virus is all done and dusted, that's not a very scientific way of putting it, but you know what I mean, once it's all, we're sort of on the road to being back to normal and functioning normally, do you think there's anything you've learned in this period that you might take forward in terms of the way you've engaged?
Yeah, I do, and I think first of all, as we engage as a team amongst us, that would probably change. But equally, this is kind of the first for us in doing a live stream. Yeah, you're very relaxed. I'm a bit more nervous than you for obvious reasons.
You don't want to see what my heart rate's doing on me track. It's going mad.
So if this kind of works for us, then, because actually this is probably, you can reach out to far more people by doing this than saying, well, we're going to come at a specific location at a specific time, because not only are we having this conversation, people listening, hopefully interested, and other people who can't make it now can watch it later on our kind of messages and what we're trying to say can still get out there. So yeah, hopefully, if I don't end up on your next week's video of the week,
we'll see. So far, so good is what I'd say.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. But certainly, this sort of online thing, I think it's probably a great way forward, and we need to move away from our traditional methods, because if it's more accessible for more people, then that's what we should do, because it's kind of my team's job to see, well, what works for you, Haytham, as opposed to what works for me, and I'll work around you, and I would say that about all the organisations, groups we work with. Well, what works best for you, and then we'll fit in with that if we can.
Yeah, I think obviously, like, we as an organisation, and the guys who are here, I'm sure would agree. We'd like to just thank you for coming on as well, just because it like I say, like I said to you earlier when we had a little chat about it, it's very easy for us to collate a bunch of information that we've seen online and from various social medias, but we don't necessarily know the context that it's being used in. And obviously the context is you're working in the community engagement team, and you know the groups that you have to reach and how to reach them. So it's good to hear from someone who knows what they're talking about, really, rather than just sort of done a bit of research into it. And I think what we're trying to do with these staying connected ones is, like you say, we're trying to have a point of contact there on the day, but as well, that video exists out there, and it's very reassuring to have someone like yourself on to sort of belay some of those fears and the anxieties around things like scams that you wouldn't necessarily be able to catch, or you wouldn't have the information to hand if you came across one. Cheers.
That's quite all right. It's great to be here.
No, good. I had another few questions before we got in the articles. One of them was, is this one of the most challenging situations you've come across since you've been working in the police force? I imagine you've had a few, but this must be up there.
Yeah, I think it's, from a personal point of view, I would say it's just something unique. There's nothing in my training that's ever prepared as kind of for what we've done. But our as police officers, our job hasn't really changed, like I've said, in terms of that identifying vulnerability and then protecting them vulnerable people, because that's in essence the job. So it's been challenging in one way, but in another way, it's been quite enjoyable, because it's just been a bit different, and we're having to think a bit differently. So it has its challenges, and personally, I'm working from home, so I'm under the same restrictions as everyone else, just because I'm a police officer, so I can go and do what I want. So clearly I've got to then kind of manage my day, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges. In terms of my career, I've dealt with some, as you'd imagine, lots of excellent, happy, amazing things, and lots of really sad things as well. Yeah. But I would imagine this period in time, in the future, I will think back and think of this as a time within the police where it was a memorable time for very different reasons, but it's just unique to everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a funny situation, like I say, because it's not like, I know a lot of it's being compared to like wartime and stuff, but it's not quite the same because there's no like quantifiable enemy or anything like that. It's a bit, like I say, it's a bit of a strange time because it's like it was the point I was making before about the community and stuff. It sort of galvanised people in that sort of way and made them come together in that way, but there's no, the outside factor is something that's completely out of our control, really. So it's a funny one.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, like I said,
an air siren would have gone off if a bomb was come across in the war, I'm sure. But it's not quite the same because it's invisible, isn't it? This enemy we've got them in it, and the fact that we can't get close to each other, and it is really hard. And I suppose for me personally, I've got a granddaughter. She's 7 months old, and I miss it a bit. And I hadn't seen her. We've used this technology to see her every day, and the wife always ends up crying at the end of it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it'll be one of them things that will probably change us all to a little bit, and whether that's just being nice to the next door neighbour or just telling somebody you love them when you maybe didn't do it quite as often before. There'll be something like that. I'm sure will change all of us in a little way.
Not take everything for granted, I think, is the message, because I think we've been a little bit guilty of that. Everyone as well at times. But yeah, I think we'll leave the question, unless you guys have any more questions for Fraser. I will stop grilling him now and giving him the journalist treatment where I'm asking him question after question. So I know we had a little chat about this morning as well. I've just pulled together a few links of some uplifting stories. I'll actually start with the one that you sent me, which was let me just load it. It's on Facebook, but it's linked to the applause for the NHS staff, isn't it?
That's right.
Just transition into hang on, the wrong screen. I do have the video link somewhere. Bear with me a second. It's probably going to start autoplaying really loud, so if you hear a really loud sound, it's just the video start. But this is on. So this is on Northumbria Police's.
This is their Facebook page,
well, isn't it? Got the applause starting there. Let me just pause that. Go back. Cool. So yeah, this was yesterday. I'll play it and then you can briefly just explain. Play for the guys. I was going to say they do a little bit where they show you all of them. There's obviously all the different members of the emergency services are there as well, which is really good to see. So if you just want to quickly, briefly explain that one, Fraser.
So obviously 8 o'clock on a Thursday, it's now turned into clap for carers, and we all do little front doors, which is the right place to do it. And obviously the emergency response workers, the police and the fire services, you can see there. They go to the hospital and they'll stand outside, put lights on and clap as an appreciative thing for the people who are in the NHS. They're all working particularly hard in particularly difficult circumstances, and some of them aren't able to go home because they don't want to go take whatever they might catch back to the family. So hey, we've all done it, haven't we? And it's just a real appreciation for the people working there who normally would be our colleagues anyway. So it's a nice thing on a Thursday, and we've done it every Thursday at different places, the RVI hospital and up at Cramlington as well. So yeah, it's just a nice little uplifting story.
Nice bit of solidarity, I think, as well. Just an appreciation. But it's good to see. I think there's been quite a few of them up and down the country as well. I've seen one of them on that got a little bit of negative press. I think they got a little bit carried away with how close to each other they were getting. But this one here, everyone seems to be observing at a good distance, so it's good to see that. But yeah, it's really good. I think this one's in Shields, isn't it? in South
Yeah,
Shields?
that's South Tyneside Hospital,
Yeah.
that one last night. So
Oh,
obviously the area command where I work at, they've kind of like organised if people weren't free from a job and just, people are there
Yeah.
because it's not going to be a few minutes. It's not as if we're not somewhere else
Yeah,
because of that.
definitely. And like I said, it's got to be good for them because as you were saying, like some of the guys working in these hospitals and stuff haven't seen like their family in weeks because obviously they can't because they don't want to pass it on. So must be nice for them as well, just as a little sort of pick me up to say everyone thinking of them and stuff. And we've covered a few different ones where there's stuff being donated to them. And we'll probably cover a few more as well, just with some information on how you can sort of get involved with that sort of thing. So yeah, that was a really nice little uplifting video there. The second one was one that we'd actually had a chat about because you were saying you'd tuned in to one of the streams the other day, and it was this Captain Tom Moore, and he's been walking laps of his back garden to raise money for the NHS. Yeah, so I think we covered this on was it
Tuesday?
Yeah, because you were on the treadmill, weren't you? You were showing off and bragging about being on the treadmill.
You and Daniel were saying how you raised, I think it was £5 million, but when I was on the treadmill, it was actually 7 million. It had gone up £2 million since lunchtime or something.
Yeah. So I mean, even now, like I've managed because on Tuesday, I couldn't find the actual. No, sorry, it might have been Wednesday. Whatever day it was a day. I couldn't find the actual fundraising page with like the live total on it, but I've managed to find it now. So as you can see here, his target was 500 grand, which in itself was a lot of money. But now he's 3,612% over his target, and he's hit as of now. I'll quickly refresh the page just to make sure. Currently on £19,069,674.20. So I mean, he's absolutely smashing it at the minute. And it's a Just Giving page if anyone is interested in getting involved with that. They look like they're accepting gift aid donations as well by the looks of it.
I'm guessing you've given your donation already.
No, I actually haven't given my donation yet, but now I sort of have to give one, don't I? No, it's fine. We'll get something together. What about yours? Have you put yours in?
£5. £5. You haven't put £5 in. That's a lot of money, isn't it?
No, well, every penny helps, I suppose. So currently seeing here. I think, to be honest, based on this message that's displayed on the top of the Just Given site, they must be experiencing a little bit of like technical issues based on how many people are clicking onto this page. I mean, there's 931,000 supporters of just this one alone. So I mean, it looks like he's well on target to get past 20 probably by the end of the weekend.
I think it was Daniel said on earlier in the week. I think his target was £1,000 or something to start with when he said, "I'm going to try and make £1,000." Yeah, done all right, isn't he?
I think it was for like he'd done it really small time. Like he said, his local NHS trust needed something, and he was like, "Oh, I can do that." And then I think he like overnight it had gone well over 1 million, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just keep doing it then, just keep going."
Yeah, keep walking.
Just hasn't stopped since. So yeah, it's really good. We'll keep an eye on that one because I couldn't tell you how high it's going to get. It just keeps going up and up.
Yeah.
And basically with that one as well, if you are thinking of donating, I found a quick article that you Just Given, the platform that they're using to raise for it, there is an option to not give them money in terms of the platform because people are sort of made a bit of a hoo-ha about, well, are they making money off of this? And the answer is no. As long as you tick the right box, you have to select other on the donation amount. But again, I can, if anyone's struggling with that and wants a bit more information, drop me an email and I'll explain that one. It's a bit of a tricky one, that one. The next one I had was, it's no longer human related. We're back on the canine front here. If I can just load this link. Where's it gone?
While you're doing that, actually, it was interesting because I know on the Northumbria Police website there's some pictures of the new puppies. Obviously, the police also just take some new puppies. Everyone likes a puppy, right. So some pictures on there. So I repeat, want to have a look at the police Facebook page and scroll down a little bit, and there's some stuff on there about the new recruits to the force. Let's say.
Okay, cool. And has it got like a little profile on them on what they're doing and stuff?
I think the names are on there, and I've seen some photographs on the Northumbria Police's Twitter page as well, where they're biting the ankles of some of the kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to get likes and shares on Facebook is just put pictures of dogs on. They've got it nailed, I think. So yeah, the next one I found was this one's over in the States, but it's there's an animal shelter in Florida who, for the first time in their history of being open, are completely empty. So they've had every single dog there has been adopted. So yeah, focus on the good animal rescue. Yeah, a historic win for the first time in history. The kennel at Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control is completely empty of adoptable dogs. I don't know what they're going to be doing now that they haven't got any dogs there, but I think that they're largely volunteers anyway, so it's not a massive issue. But I think there's been a big sort of drive for stuff like that while people have been at home to adopt or foster dogs or other pets as well. So I just thought this was a really nice one. And if you are thinking about that, I'm sure you can get a dog to foster. Your curtains might get a bit chewed like at first, but you'll get over it. You'll get over it, man. Do you have any pets at all?
No. We had a dog,
okay.
but sadly she passed away, a little Safi. So we're not at the minute, so we're pet free.
Cool. It's been that's one of the things we've seen. I've seen a lot on Facebook and Twitter and stuff saying this is probably the happiest the dogs have ever been because everyone's at home and they're getting like all the attention. So don't know how they're going to cope when it all ends, but we'll. That's
right.
We'll see.
The parents go back to work.
Yeah, definitely. So next up, I don't know if you know the actor Danny Trejo, probably most famous for his role as Machete. He owns. I'll tell you what.
You're not going to start talking about Bruce Lee again, are we?
No, not quite. We had a Jackie Chan, almost an entire 20 minutes on Jackie Chan on Wednesday, so we'll try not to. But I'll find a picture of Danny Trejo quickly. Dan will be listening and he'll know exactly who he is. But for the stream purposes, there he is on the right-hand side. For some reason, he's shirtless in half the pictures, which I didn't know, so we'll just quickly scroll that page down. But if anyone's seen Machete or From Dusk Till Dawn, apparently he was in Spy Kids as well. Anyway, famous actor. He owns a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant in LA, and he's been down and cooking loads of Mexican food for the health workers there and giving it out for free.
That's really good. Actually, that reminds me, Ethan, I think it was earlier in the week, there was some members of the mosque in Newcastle took some 50 meals down to the police station for the cops that were on duty, just as a thank you to them for, being at work and keeping everyone safe. I thought it was a lovely gesture by them. I just wish I'd have been at work at Forth Banks on that day because it made me mouth water just thinking about it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to time it a bit better, I think, if you're gonna want to be fed. You need to be turning up at like dinner time and tea time just to get your meals in. But yeah, I think we've seen quite a few of these. So obviously this one's a taco restaurant and it's in LA, but I'm pretty sure. I think Danny Rose, who's on loan at Newcastle at the minute, he'd ordered, I think, like the full ward worth of staff Domino's pizza the other night as well. So hopefully that's a trend that continues, and you might be in a bit of luck. You might get yourself some pizza.
Well, while I'm working from home, it's not going to happen. Maybe going to the office for that reason.
I was going to say just go in the office just to pick something up. Wait until you've got some paperwork to file or something like that, and then you might luck out. So the other one, and this is sort of linking back to our key workers. So this one, I'd seen someone doing a little like tutorial video on it on Facebook, and I did a little bit more research into it. It's about, so everyone wants to do their bit. The volunteers sewing scrubs for the NHS. So I don't know if you'd seen at all, or you're up to date with the medical supply issue, but apparently there's quite a shortfall of scrubs. I know they like uniform bits like caps and like bags for them to store them in and stuff. So little organisation called Scrub Hub, which is a network of volunteer groups, has been set up by Dr. Katie Ward with the aim of having the patterns, like free patterns to stitch garments for work in hospitals and stuff. And again, that's one that you guys could probably get involved. Not you, Fraser, unless you know how to sew. I don't. But if anyone watching, if anyone's watching and they want to get involved, if you look this up, so Scrub Hub, as well as there's another couple down here. If I just find the names of them, Sewing for the NHS or For the Love of Scrubs. If you Google those, you'll find their information. But I thought it was a really nice one because obviously, you know, if you're watching the daily updates and stuff, you can see that we've got a lack of certain things in the NHS. I know they've been putting out like wish lists on Amazon and stuff for certain items, like bacterial wipes and hand sanitizer and things like that. So I think this is a really good little thing. And if you are able to, you know, get involved, or even just publicise it, even just sharing it on Facebook, you know, someone on your friends list might be able to do it. You never know.
That's clever, isn't it? It's good that.
Oh, definitely. Like I say, it's stuff, especially if people are off work and they need a little bit of, let's say, occupying, just so they don't go stir crazy. That's probably a good one to pick up. So we'll be expecting a pair of scrubs from you next week, Fraser. It seems you've got the weekend.
That's right. Yeah, I'll try and find some fabric from somewhere.
Nice. And the last one I've got, before we get into a little bit of general advice, is just another sort of celebrity one. I think you class her as a celebrity. Prince Sofia of Sweden has decided to volunteer down at one of the hospitals local to her. So she apparently completed a intensive training program online and has now started volunteering at a hospital in... I'm not going to say it because it sounds very Swedish, but I've highlighted it on the screen, this hospital, which I thought was really cool, and again, really nice gesture.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it just shows that everyone can do the thing to help, and she's in a great position where she can go and do that. But equally, I think it was important to recognise the people who are just staying at home, because that's really hard to do in itself, isn't it? And you know, we all know that. And I think the people that's just staying at home, hats off to them, because it's them that's preventing this thing spreading quicker than it normally would.
Yeah, 100%. And like we keep saying, you know, there is opportunities to get involved with volunteering, but it doesn't necessarily have to be something like this. You know what I mean? You don't have to go and get involved on the front line. It could be something that could do with delivery driving, or it could be something like a few of the local organisations in Sunderland are coordinating like deliveries for people's groceries and things like that. So it can be very much done at home, or it can be out and about in the community. It just depends on what you're able to do and what you're comfortable doing as well. And like you say, even just staying at home itself and listening to the measures is, so far from what we can tell, working. So just, you know, keep it up. Yeah, so this was just a nice one. I mean, the headline will do, really. There's a picture of her in her scrubs instead of her tiara, as they've pointed out there, which I thought was... Like I say, I said it to Daniel on Wednesday, like, I think it's quite easy to sort of give the rich, like, say, tech billionaires, for example, or, like, people like in the royal family who are doing stuff like this, quite a bad time saying it's just, like, a PR move or whatever, but I think it still doesn't take away from the fact that they didn't really have to do it. So... You know, they've gone out of their way. Isn't it? Yeah, they've gone out of their way to do that, which is fair. As long as someone's benefiting from it, I don't see the issue with it, really. So yeah, that was all the links I've sort of prepared for today. I've sort of blasted through them. We briefly talked about reporting stuff to the police, and a little bit earlier on, we sort of we had a chat about what you would maybe report and where you would report it. So I don't know if you want to quickly sort of recap on that, because we were talking about, like, I've seen all sorts of posts on Facebook of, like, people taking pictures of people putting the bins out and, like, saying why are they out the house, and, you know, they've took the dog for 2 walks on that day, like, what are they doing and stuff. So I you know, like, the curtains are hanging slightly wonky. Just if you could give us a little bit of clarity on sort of what and how to report things, I think that'd be good.
So it's hard, isn't it? Because everyone's seeing people doing things. But for all I'd say is, if you're worried about someone, and this is what I would class, and that's a personal opinion. If you're worried that you haven't seen someone or something doesn't look right, then report it. And and that hasn't changed just because of the coronavirus. That's exactly what I would have said before. If you're worried about someone, you think someone's going to come some harm, then contact us in whichever way it was, and we've talked about the different means to do it.
Yeah.
Part of the work, kind of going back a little bit, that we do is kind of in terms of hate crime. So my job in the area command is to kind of oversee the hate crime and ensure that people who become victims of a crime because of certain things, and because they're the colour of the skin or the race or have got a disability or anything like that, then my message, I suppose, to them people is, just because you think the police might be busy, please don't not report it, because it's hugely important that you do report that, and you can do that by all the methods said, or by third-party reporting mechanisms like True Vision, and the people certainly who've had our hate crime champions training will understand and know that, and I'm sure they'll be encouraging it. But I suppose my message is, firstly, if you're worried, then just let us know. And secondly, don't be frightened not to report something because you think we're too busy, because we can only do what we can do from what people are telling us.
Yeah, and that is, in essence, especially there's your role is to sort of engage with the community as well. So even if it's something that's not an emergency, it's still an issue that needs to be possibly dealt with as well, or you can provide them with that sort of specialist advice, which I think is good.
Yeah, definitely. Because we deal with emergencies, but we equally deal with things that aren't emergency, and things that take a long time to deal with. So, yeah, I would say don't think we can't phone the police because we're too busy, but phone them if you're worried about someone or yourself.
Definitely, that's a great one. I know I'm just trying to find the graphic, because Ella made us a wonderful graphic with some numbers on in terms of if you have an issue. So if you give me a second, I'll just try and find that. And it was all, because obviously we've had, as you're probably aware from just your own experience, that it's quite a testing time on your mental health. So we've sort of that can probably play a factor as well, because like you say, I think some people will be of the mindset of, well, I don't want to bother them, it's just me, it's being like paranoid, or maybe I'm not right, or maybe I've got the wrong end of the stick or whatever. But I take your message would be, if you are, or your message is, if you are worried, get in touch, and someone will help you. There is definitely help out there.
There is, and the police might not be the place for that, but we can, it could be just contacting the Samaritans or Washington Mind or any of the mines. There's organisations to help people for all different situations, I suppose.
Yeah, so I've just got that on screen there. You probably won't be able to see that, Fraser, but it's just, I'll leave it on for a couple of seconds, just so if anyone wants to pause the video or anything, there's some websites on there. So Sunderland Mind, as you've mentioned, Washington Mind's on there, Northumberland Tyne-and-Wear NHS Foundation Trust Crisis Team, that one's a mouthful, Samaritans, the Calm Zone, and then there's some general information regarding COVID-19. So the sunderland.gov website //coronavirus, 111.nhs.uk/COVID-19, and digital NHS UK services, NHS 111 online. And I think they're some of the ones that you can get that do like a live chat sort of feature on there as well.
Right.
So that will be quite a good one. Just back to the hate crimes and stuff briefly as well. Do you see those being reported as an emergency, or is it that when there's like an incident taking place, do you think?
Well, it again, if it's the here and now, and we meet in the street and I'm abusive to you, and you're frightened, then that's 4999 and remove yourself from that kind of position. If it's something that's happened maybe online, because that happens a lot online through Facebook and social media, I would suggest report that through the website, take a screenshot, which we kind of mentioned before, and then report it. So if you're a victim of a crime for whatever reason, I would always encourage you to report it, because, and again, we don't know, we can't help, we can't stop the perpetrator, the bad person, we can't bring them to book, if you like. But in a hate crime, and I because it's my kind of like area of expertise, if you like, that's my big concern, is that because people who who are likely to become victims of hate crime don't report it because they generally, they just don't want to bother anyone, or they just don't feel comfortable phoning the police. There are other ways to report it, and you don't. It's not always going to end up in a court, but just by telling someone sometimes is enough for you to make you feel a bit better that you've done something for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good point in that people shouldn't feel discouraged.
Not at all.
And I think, especially just to go back to your point about taking evidence, I think it's really important if it's online. We mentioned it, like you say, I think we mentioned it in the Zoom and the WhatsApp session. Is that with the way technology is at the minute, it's very, very easy to keep a log of what's happened. For instance, say for instance on WhatsApp, the messages are there. As long as you don't delete them, you can block that person and those messages still appear. If it's Facebook, it works the same. The messages are still there. As well as that, you can take a screenshot. Someone else could say delete their account, but they could never delete the screenshot or the tweet. A screenshot of a tweet that they sent you, or a screenshot of the message that they sent you. That's on your device, and you have that forever as sort of proof. So I would definitely stress that if you do think someone is harassing you or threatening you online and you want to report it, I would be taking as much evidence as you possibly can, so that they can be dealt with appropriately, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we've kind of timed that almost perfectly, to be honest, Fraser. So I don't know how we've managed it, but it's almost like we rehearsed a little bit for 3 hours or something today.
Yeah, we didn't. That's the miracle thing.
No, it's completely off the cuff, most of it, to be fair. But yeah, I've quickly checked the chat just to see if we've got anything else in there. I'll scroll back up. Just the guys just saying, yeah, it's what a legend about Captain Tom. Lynn saying she hopes he doesn't overdo it. A couple of people saying they donated some money. Mark, so Wade was asking what your name was, and his surname's also Wilson. So he's saying that you're doing a great job, and thank you. As well as Sunderland People First as well. Saying a massive thank you to you guys as well. Yeah, and I'll sort that out in a second, guys. I'll put the link and stuff in there. But for now, Fraser, just to say a massive thank you for coming on and answering all my really annoying questions, because there's been many of them.
No, it's been a pleasure here from the just to have the opportunity to speak for yourself, and then whoever listens to this out there. Then, if people are listening to what the police have got to say, my messages is then that's at least I feel like I'm doing my job as an engagement kind of officer anyway.
Definitely. And
once this is all over, we'll come and see you, and we'll get the VR headsets out that we've been getting to use, and they're all locked away now, and we'll create some probably more modern cyber related engagement opportunities with yourself, and no doubt the rest of the gang listening.
Yeah, and we'll have a chat about like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and all the rest of it as well. Danny Trejo probably. So thanks a lot for coming on. And just one more thing. So if I'll put the links and stuff in there. If we get anyone who has any specific questions, am I alright to forward that onto you? If it's specific to you and sort of the stuff you've talked about today. Obviously, I can handle the sort of if they're asked. I'll make sure the links to the two things we talked about on the Northumbria Police website are on there, so that people can access that. But it's possible that people might get in touch watching it back. So am I alright to forward them through?
No, that's fine. Just if they're going to get in touch with yourself, no worries at all. Bear in mind, we might not check the email on that day, but that's me only kind of thing. If people are worried about something that's happening now, just report it.
Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure. It's been hopefully the next guest probably be better. But I've set a reasonable bar, I hope.
No, definitely not, mate. It's been really good, and like I say, really nice to have someone who has a clue what they're talking about for once. So hopefully we can keep that trend up.
I'm not sure anyone else that's watching this that knows me will agree with that, Nathan, but thanks very much for the compliment. I'm taking it.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. You take care, mate, and we'll be
in touch. Hope the rest of the show goes okay.
Right, thank you very much. Cheers, man. Speak to you later.
Bye, everyone. Ta-da.
Ta-da. Okay, my camera's gone real big. Let's just scale. making a mess of this, aren't we? Right. There's the rest of me head. It exists. Slightly larger than I wanted to be, like, but never mind. So yeah, guys, just to quickly wrap up, obviously, like I say, massive thank you to Fraser. Really appreciate him coming on today and helping us out. Quick couple of things to just wrap up with. I'll consult my notes again. Oh wow, I'm just watching the stream back when I've stretched my head out. What am I doing? What a professional. So yeah, we've got a couple of updates. So one of our partner organisations, More Than Grandparents, are doing a crowdfunding effort at the moment. So if you bear with me for a second, I will just load that screen and I will just make me head so it's not like being squashed again. Hopefully. Oh, there we go. I've got a forehead again. So we've worked quite closely with these guys to provide some courses with them, and they're doing a little fundraising, a crowdfunding, appeal at the moment. So they're an independent registered charity based in Sunderland and run by and for kinship carers and their families. That's their sort of MO, and the fundraiser is, let me just load the link here. So there's some information on there and where they're at with it at the minute. So it's about providing emotional support, food and essentials and children's activities packed to kinship families in Sunderland to help through the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are families who obviously already have quite difficult and complex lives and struggle at the best of times with no statutory responsibility for local authorities to support them, and sometimes often receive little to no support. So if you guys wouldn't mind checking that out as well, that's quite a worthy cause that I didn't mention in the uplifting articles bit, but it is worth a mention. And like I say, we've worked quite closely with these guys in the past. So shout out to More Than Grandparents. I will put a link to this somewhere in the description also. And outside of that, I think the only other update really that I've got before I stop boring you to death with me monotone voice is that upcoming sessions that we've got. So we've got Exploring Photo P on Monday, and that starts at 10. That's with Daniel. I'll probably be making an appearance, fortunately or unfortunately, however you see that. Then we've got Staying Connected on the same day, which is at 4 p.m. and I don't know what that is yet. Actually, no, I do know. I know exactly what that one is. Matthew, who is in the chat now, is going to be on there. And we're going to do a little bit of a co-hosted show with him, probably either myself and Matthew or Daniel and Matthew, I think, at the moment. Subject to change, of course, because I, as always, don't know what I'm talking about. And then we've got Cooking on a Budget at Tuesday, which will be the first cooking stream that we're going to do, so bear with us on that one, because the tech is going to be a hard work on that one, I think. But we'll get there. You know what we're like. We'll get there. And just as a final little note, as always, if you guys are getting involved in any way, just to let us know. Send us in your work or whatever. We're using the hashtag #WeAreMediaSavvy, and I've heard the doggo behind us. I dare not look. Oh, I think we might be getting a special guest appearance quickly, just as a little thank you. If you bear with us a second, let me just enlarge the camera again, and then probably never say the word enlarge again, because that was just a bit strange. Don't know why I said that. Who's that?
Happy.
Ready?
Happy.
Ready? Hey! There he is, man. There's a fella.
Somebody's got a big birthday.
Who's I hear through the grapevine, Diego, that it's your birthday coming up soon. Is that right? Is that right? Is that correct? You're supposed to nod. Anyway, yeah, there you go. That's a nod. So yeah, it's is it next week?
Thursday.
Next Thursday is Diego's birthday. So we'll be doing something special for that. Hopefully. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears wide open, and cross your fingers that it all goes right. Yeah, Dan making his presence known dramatically. Yeah, every time you hear that squeak of the door, and you know that there's going to be a bald man behind you with some kind of thing to say. But yeah, guys, so I'm gonna stop droning on now because it's past 5 o'clock and I should have shut up 5 minutes ago, but I haven't. So massive thank you for coming along. I'm gonna put some links and stuff in the description. Before I go and before I forget, the survey link for today, if you really wouldn't mind doing it, and it'll take you 30 seconds to a minute to do, to give us a little bit of feedback on how you think the session went. So there you go. That's in the chat now. So if you can give us a little bit of feedback, if it's how good Fraser was and how bad my hosting skills are, that's fine. If it's something you'd like to see, at the minute we're not taking guest requests because we don't know many celebrities, but we'll work on it. Matthew, no pressure. You are the celebrity guest. I'll be in touch with that, and keep an eye out for all our streams. Remember to like, share and subscribe to the videos. That's it. That's all I've got. So yeah, if you could do that. Oh, hang on. I'm assuming this is Andy with a quick question, so go on. Who's cutting your hair? Well, it's funny you should ask that, actually. My dad did it, and I only let him do it after it got to the point where it was sort of like down to here, and I thought something needs to be done. But I'm going to cut the stream short before you get a chance to sort of flame me about it. So yeah, thanks. Shout out to Mo for doing the haircut. And stay safe, everyone. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday morning for Photo P. Bye then.